Hi, my name is Andrés Taboada, and I'm a local foreigner.
Inmigrante, expatriado, peruano vivo americano, y de aquí de año expatriado, y no matter what it is, who's here and in his own land.
Our first local foreigner is Gustavo Goose Alvarez, co-author of the New York Times Bestseller Prison Ramen, Recipes and Stories from Behind Bars. In addition to a foreword by Samuel L. Jackson, it includes essays and recipes by Danny Trejo, Shia LaBeouf, Slash from Guns N' Roses, and many more colorful characters. Please check it out. A portion of the proceeds go to this organization called Homeboy Industries, a youth program based right here in LA. They help actually train formerly incarcerated youth so that they can search for employment in the future. I was introduced to Goose by a mutual friend, actually. His name is Joe Turman. He's the cinematographer for my first feature film, Alta California. We shot this movie down in Tijuana, which is where Goose now lives. He actually has been living there for the last 10 years. As a teenager, Goose grew up in the violent gangs of Los Angeles. After spending several years in prison, he tried to turn his life around, got married, had kids, but was unfortunately convicted years later for carrying a weapon. Goose was undocumented, so he was deported to Mexico. It's been more than a decade since Goose first arrived in Tijuana. Today, we talked about how he is able to make Tijuana his home, despite struggling with the language and having otherwise spent his entire life in the United States. This podcast will, sometimes I'll be talking to people right here in my living room. Other times I will be talking to them via Zoom, which is what I'm doing with Goose today, because sometimes foreigners are in foreign lands. So that's what we'll be doing. And yeah, super interesting guy, and I can't wait for you to get to know him as well. I was going to start it by saying, the first question being, where are you from? It's a two-part question. So where are you from and where are you really from? So could you please tell me that? How would you answer that question?
That's a good question. The way I like how you worded it. Where you from and where you really from? Well, I guess I gotta begin by saying where I was born. And I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, right? I lived there probably till I was maybe 6, 7, or 8 around that time. Mm-hmm. And we moved to the country in, I think it was 78 or 79. And I've been in LA ever since, I've lived my whole life there. I was raised there. My Spanish was taught at home and amongst my peers. And, living the life that I did, I guess you could say that I was raised in the United States. Mm-hmm. So I have a more of a Chicano culture in me with Mexican parents to always humble me, because as you know, it's different, a person from Mexico is a whole lot different than somebody born in Mexico but raised in the United States. There's this different way of seeing things, and not to say that either of them are wrong. It's just a different way of viewing things. And I got the reality check of it, obviously, when I was deported for the first time, and
how old were you then?
I was, at that time, I think I was 24 or 25. That's after my first term. Mm-hmm. But the little bit that I lasted there, I just looked at it as a vacation, as a weekend getaway, like I used to do back in the days with my friends, TJ, or Mexico, just real quick, and have fun, party, and go home. And that's what I did. I went back home, and this was way before 9/11, so mm-hmm. the laws were much different then. They weren't as strict as they are now. And so that I got to go back to my normal program, as you would say. I went back to school. Mm-hmm. I went back to working, paying taxes, living my life, And then much later in life, after I got married and had kids and, under some circumstances out of my control, mm-hmm. I was sent back and fell victim of the 3 strikes law, which was mm-hmm. in California, something that was just like P. Wilson, the governor at the time, was like, you know what? This law is a 3-strike law, 2 violent offenses, a 3rd felony, you get 25 to life. And I sat there in the LA County jail facing 50 to life, as a 3-striker candidate with $1 million bail to get sent back to court for no bail. You know, they didn't want me to bail out because of that new law, the three strikes law. So I was facing 50 to life. You know, I still remember the day that the lawyer came and told me, he goes, okay, well, look, you know what? You're a three-strike candidate. Doesn't matter if you're caught with a weapon, you know, it's a strike. So you get 25 years double, which is 50 to life. And I sat there looking, I'm like, are you crazy? Like, I didn't think it was real, you know?
Mhm.
And, you know, of course, because of that crime, because of the strike, I was never going to see my kids again. You know, I was never going to see my family again, straight up. So at the time, whatever we scraped up to get this attorney, you know, he went in there and spoke up for us. And before I even got to my arraignment, he got me a deal. You know, he got me a deal to do 6 years with 80% without even going to the arraignment. You know, that's the risk that I was going to take, taking it to trial, knowing I probably could have won it because there wasn't no weapon warrant. And if we played by the rules, the judge would have to dismiss the case. But I didn't want to risk it back then. Going against, you know, a DA, a DEA from a county that was known to double cross you, you know. So I didn't want to play with them. And I signed the 6 years and I went and did that time, which caused my second deportation, which was 2011. And that lasted 4 days, you know, and under the same impression of wanting to go back home, thinking that things would be as they were before. The laws were a lot stricter.
What year was this? I'm sorry.
This was in about 2011.
2011. Got it.
Yeah. So I crossed in through a small town, ironically named after my mom, called Socorro. I crossed through there and from Juarez to Texas, and I was apprehended, which was kind of surreal because I was apprehended by, I think it was border police or border patrol, and they had a camera, you know, and I was all muddy, I was all wet, and I was under the camera. I just put my head down because I was kind of embarrassed, you know, to be on that show. I was put in that van and taken to a local Pecos County facility, and I started my third quote unquote term of 30 months. I had to do 30 months for re-entering into the country illegally. So not only did they stretch me out for a gun charge, they also stretched me out for coming back illegally. They gave me double of what they're supposed to give an average person, you know. Because of that three strikes, it still stained me all the way through my life and every occasion. So it was like this monkey on my back that was never going to go away. And so the judge wasn't showing any mercy. I mean, come on, 4 days out of the country, and then I get sent right back. I mean, I crossed right back. That's like, I didn't even wait a week. You know, I said, no, I'm going back home, you know, and literally that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back home. Well, whatever, it cost me my freedom again. And I was sent to the feds this time, the federal prisons for 30 months. And I was finally deported in 2013. 2013, and I've been here since, you know, and I've had to go through a little bit of struggle. I'm not gonna lie, it's different because I don't speak the language the same. Regardless if there's tourists here all day long, they have a way of talking to you different. And yeah, I felt a little bit of especially in shopping, when I get you somewhere, it costs like 200 pesos. I want to say 500 pesos, you know, because they think I'm from the other side, you know, and they usually, that's how they treat some of the tourists, you know. I can understand that, you know, they have to get their hustle on over here because, you know, it's obvious they don't take care of them like they should, you know, the government and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's the way it is, and these are the things that I had to adapt to and assimilate my life into the life that I was going to live here. I'm living, you know, and it's a struggle, man, because there's a lot of us. There's different guys, you know, from different parts of the world that are going through the same thing, you know, a stranger in a strange land. And it's ironic because, you know, I'm Mexicano. I was born in Mexico. My family, everybody's 100%. And it's that little struggle in me still. You know, there was times I would go to the border just to go hang out by the beach because I live close to the beach. So I would stay there just, you know, looking at the other side for a long time. And I found myself like thinking, why am I doing that? Like, I recalled an incident when I was in prison. This older guy told me one time, he's like, youngster, you got to get off that phone, man. Like, that's a stress box. Like, you're constantly on the phone, but you're living in this world. You know, you can't have your mind out there and your body here because you're just not going to survive, you know? And I started to understand that more when I would be involved in or be part of these riots where in any day, any second, your life could end, you know, and you're too busy thinking about what they're doing out in the street, you know, that you're not concentrating on what's going on where you live. And so I knocked that out, you know, I stopped jumping on that phone and I kept my mind and my body where I was at, you know. I had to be there for a few more years, so I needed to adapt. So that's kind of how I'm assimilated it here in where I'm at in Mexico, you know. And I'm just trying to keep my mind and my body where I'm at, where I'm living. I can't go back no more. That's
Is that definite? Is that finite?
According to the judge, it's for life.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I think it is definite unless the laws change or you know, somebody can have a way of getting me some type of temporary visa. That'd be awesome too, because I would love to live here and be able to go work over there, you know, and come back home here. You know, and I could accept all that type of you know, limit, and I'll be happy with it. But for the most part, right now, I'm as close as you could get to the border. You know, I live in a border town, and there are people like-minded and like me, hundreds, if not thousands of them. So there's starting to be a community of us, you know, and we still continue to look after each other because we are the only ones that understand each other, you know. So it's like if we don't have anybody else to look after us, you know, and I don't mean in the most simplest form. I mean in, you know, moral support, you know, mental support, you know, and a lot of us have families that are stuck over there, or we don't get a chance to see them, and we have to assimilate here to the program they have here, you know, and it's taking time to get used to it. However, I'm starting to find my place, you know. I got my groove, you know, and I'm starting to appreciate it more because I don't go to the border no more. I don't look to the other side of the fence no more. It's not like I lost hope. It's just that I've embraced acceptance. You know, hey, this is where I'm at. Let's make the best of it. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. There's so much potential here for everything and everyone. And it's beautiful, man. And it's like, I know it has its dark side. I'm not gonna lie. You know, let's be real. It has a really, really dark side. But sometimes in this darkness, you tend to find peace, bro. Because from where I come from, that's where all my peace was at. Like I knew there was tension on the yard. I knew what it was about, and I knew that I was safe. Why? Because I felt like I was part of something that protected me, and knew that I would be okay in any kind of storm, you know? And I'm starting to see that here, and it's pretty amazing, man. Yes, you know, we're still struggling, we're still suffering, we're still going through stuff. But now it's the community, you know, so we're going through it together. We're kind of sharpening each other, you know? So that's kind of some of the qualities that I've come to appreciate here, that I know that there's sometimes that we go through the struggle and we get upset and we figure like, why is everything going this way? Why is everything going that? But then when you start to realize, you know what, it's for a purpose, and you see the purpose and you go, wow, it was worth it. It was worth this little worry. It was worth this little struggle. Why? Because around the corner, this is what came out of it, you know, whatever subject, you know, and that's what's kept us going, you know, and there's a couple cats that I talk to on the daily when I go to the pull-up bars, you know, and we sit there and we reminisce, but then we talk about what we're living, you know, and what we're allowing to come into our circle, and we're surviving, man. You know, we help each other out. we tend to complain. I'm not gonna lie. We tend to complain
Okay.
certain things because, man, the way they drive sometimes gets on your nerves, or the way this is going on, and the little disrespect that we get in certain places that we wouldn't tolerate other places. We kind of humble ourselves and say, okay, we got to let a lot of stuff go because, the way we lived in prison, certain stuff that people got away with here, they really didn't, and it goes without saying, it's just common courtesy, common respect,
Mm.
everybody deserves it, it doesn't make you better than anybody else, so yeah, that's kind of, it's just so much, it comes at different angles, there's the way that people see you when you're at home. There's the way that people treat you when you're trying to communicate to them, and they giggle because sometimes your languages
Yeah.
don't, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to talk to them, and then they realize, okay, this guy's not from here, and but if they knew that I was more Mexican than they were, they'd probably laugh. But yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of things that came up while you were describing all this. First of all, you said you referred to where you were at as home. You actually called it that. And
Yeah.
then you have been talking about us, we, community. So if you could just let me know when did you start calling Tijuana home? And then who is this us and this community that you have found there? Who are these people?
I started recognizing this is home when I started to understand that I was never going to go back, that order, that judgment from that judge was final. Like, I'm obviously not going to try to do nothing illegal to go back because that's just not here nor there. That doesn't even come across my mind, Although that's always optional, I would never do that. I just can't. I love my freedom too much, I appreciate it too much, and like I said, living here, it's taught me so much, it's humbled me more, and that right there for me is everything because maybe I was getting ahead of myself, and I wasn't appreciating the value of life and freedom like I should have, and here it's like everybody appreciates it. It's more there's more humility, there's more genuine care, because I don't recall ever over there someone say, hey, good morning, buenos dias. Never. Like, people are always in a rush, they're angry, they're going through stuff, and
Mhm.
and here it's different. I couldn't even know these people and they're telling me good day. I'm like, wow, that kind of felt, it's different. It felt really cool, and it made me feel at home, and most of the guys that I call my community, they're like-minded, they're guys that got deported, done decades in prison.
Mhm.
They look like me. They probably talk like me, and they go through the same struggle as me. And there's a good issue of us here, We're all from Southern California, and most of us that are from up north, we still, we show love, we respect, and we give each other the common courtesy, and that's awesome because a lot of us are of age, so they want to label us old school or OGs. That's their opinion, but we have a better sense, and we try to help out the guys that are coming behind us,
Mm.
so they don't fall and get caught up in what goes on here in the darkness, and then they get lost, I have a lot of friends, as a matter of fact. Since I've been here, I've watched disappear in front of my eyes, whether it's for drugs or they just get sequestered or they cross the other side and they get caught, go back to prison for decades. And I've got to witness that. So it's something that continually reminds me that, look, you're blessed. Why? Because you can easily fall like them into alcoholism or drugs, and you go live on the sand or under wherever, under a concrete building or whatnot, and live on the streets. You can easily do that, man. And you can easily jump the border, and go back and risk going back to prison forever. Last time I think the judge told me if he caught me, he'd give me 120 months just to start. Let's just put that on the table just because we got you. And for whatever else that
Mhm.
happened to fall into, he's going to implement the strikes. keep doubling my time. So anything over 10 years, I'm not coming out of prison. I just know myself, I won't go back, I mean, I'll just make that my career, and
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Like I said, I love my freedom,
Hmm.
and that's more important to me than any status or any type, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's usually my community, guys like-minded, although I talk to everybody, everybody. I walk around my area and out of nowhere I'll see somebody at the store. Hey, how you doing, Goose? Hey, how you doing? I actually have people that I know that are my neighbors that are, the guy that sells the tortillas, the guy that, just, they get to see your face, and you become a regular, you become like they say, a resident, and that's kind of cool because I'm starting to, like I said, I found my little place,
How do you how did you all find each other? And I guess who was the first person you'd say that you would call a friend in Tijuana?
Oh wow, this goes back almost 10 years. There's been, like I said, been a lot of good friends that I've run into from the past.
Hmm.
Some still in the present, God, some that are in my shoes right now. There's a good friend of mine named Rick. He and I have been going through the same stuff. Both going. We work out together every now and then. We see each other. And there's a couple other, like a guy named Mondo, a couple other mutual friends of mine who are still, you know, surviving. They haven't fallen into temptation or any other mayhem that will get them to get in trouble. They go to work, they do their workout, they kick it with their dog or their loved one or their family. Some of them are married, and they go about their business. Like just average people. And they assimilate themselves. They might not look it, might have tattoos all over their body. They might be a little intimidating, but they're the nicest people you ever meet, and they'll help you. They'll give their shirt literally off their back. And that same principle that we've had is brought here, and hoping it attracts others and it spreads so that people can start treating each other a little different. And when they see us, they don't generally just think, oh, these guys are gonna rob us or this guy looks
Hmm.
and they'll be like, oh, these guys they're actually pretty good guys, they're not with all that silliness that goes on with these other dudes that want to hurt kids, want to hurt people. They want to, that's not here nor there, but that's just a lot of the nonsense that goes on.
Yeah.
I guess the best way to explain it is that liquid mercury. You could spread that liquid mercury around and then eventually just all
Hmm.
meets together. That's kind of how we are in a sense, where maybe some guys will get deported in, I don't know, Cahuila, somewhere far, and they're from California. They'll find their way back to the border, closer to their home. And they'll have the routine, usually working out every morning, 4 or 5 a.m. And you start seeing those like-minded people doing that same routine, and then you realize that okay, he's a regular. He's one of us.
Hmm.
And then sooner or later you bump heads, meaning you see each other at the store or working out because you're constantly in the same area. You start talking, and then after 2 or 3 minutes of talking, if you know what you know, then you know that that's a righteous person,
Mm.
and you have to make a bond, you make a connection. And these types of people, although can't speak for others, but they still hold on to their word. They say something, they don't have to sign any papers. They give you their word, they're gonna do it. And you could have just met them for 5 minutes, but they come from the same place you come from, and they were educated in the same manner, and they know the rules. So they treat you like-minded, and they know that you're a stand-up guy. So if they say, hey man, yeah, I could pick you up at this time and we could go, and I can't, they know you're gonna be there. And then that's how you start connecting with all these like-minded individuals, and some from the other side, or
Hmm.
from prison, or and you click, and then that click becomes a bond that's sealed, and it's meant to help you survive, because come on, let's be honest, it's the it's the life of the strong, and the fittest, and you need to be connected to something that's giving you some kind of um, like a source, something that's giving you encouragement and a rock where you can fall on if you're going through tough times and sharpen you, and I find that in my community, and most of my peers, I don't get involved with going out partying. I don't get involved with, abusing alcohol or drugs. I don't see a life in that anymore, and I realize now the healthier I am, the smarter I stay, and I get out of people's way. I don't try to put myself out there, I don't care to be known, and I want my little piece of tranquility, even if it's right here at the corner of Mexico, right down the street from San Diego, I'm fine, and I'll make the best of this because I've had worse. I come from a place where I was in a cage. I was literally in a box, in my boxers and fed 3 times a day, and having to go through those anxiety attacks where I've been in that cell too damn long that I'm in there, playing with a piece of carrot from lunch, wait for it to get all dry like a piece of wood, tossing it in my cell, closing my eyes and just trying to find it, just so I won't go crazy from boredom. And so coming home to the free world, I mean, I can't complain about anything. You feel me? Like I can't. There's nothing to be complaining about,
When would you say that? Because you've been there at this point over 10 years in Tijuana. When would you say that you started to refer to Tijuana as home? Like how far into it? And then I'm sorry to probe you, but that story of you going to the beach and releasing this, the balloon, if you could take me through that again, because honestly, I just love hearing it. So.
Right. Yeah, there was a few occasions that we did that. I think they're called Chinese lanterns.
Yeah.
I've been here about 10 and a half years. So I'll say probably, gosh, I guess my 6th year, I really just said, you know what, like enough is enough, and that's when I was introduced to those lanterns and I just started, this person was saying, just write these things on this lantern and let it go, or whatnot. I just went along with it, we did it and we burned them and we let them go. And then I realized that this whole beach lights up, with all of them. Like people come from on the other side and just start lighting them up. And it looks really cool in the sky or whatever. And I let it go and I started to just accept, I said, you know what, this is my home, it's mi casa, this is where I'm going to be. And I got to make the best of it and appreciate where I'm at, because there's somebody in a cell right now. You know what I mean? There's somebody that's never going to see the beach. There's never going to see a sunset. Straight up, they'll never see a sunset. And I have the pleasure of seeing one every day. And seeing the sunrise every day. It's like, what? I'm not going to play one bit.
Yeah. One thing that you mentioned, which was interesting, was, I don't care to be known. And you're being really humble about it. But the truth is, you're a published author. You have a New York Times bestseller. So first of all, that's amazing. Congratulations. And second, when and how do you start writing, and how is that looking? How did that evolve? And if you could tell me through your writing journey, that would be amazing.
The awesome thing about it is that this was something I started when I was like 17, right? Just, wanting to be a rapper at one time, just a little high school kids thinking of me, and I would write these lyrics, and then I started realizing that I was expressing a lot. I was expressing a lot of stuff that was really deep, and I didn't know how else to express it verbally, so I just, I let my stuff flow. And then, life occurs. I was involved with a lot of gang violence, early 90s, that's all you heard about, and I got distracted, so the writing kind of was put on hold till I went to juvenile hall. Started going to juvenile hall, and then obviously I would go to school there, so I'd always write and continue to write. It didn't get serious till when I was in prison for the first time, 18 years old, and the story, The Pond, which was my second book, which technically should have been my first, right? Um, that whole story, I wrote it through those whole years. I kept a journal. I would just write notes of the stuff that would go on through my day. It was told to me that it would help, it was therapeutical to everything, this trauma that you're going through in there that you're seeing, just write about it so you can, because I like to talk to anything or anyone. So I started keeping this stuff I think, 4 or 5 years worth of legal tabs. And, I got home in 97 and I started working at Fox Studios as a security guard, right?
Wow.
And I met a good friend of mine named Kevin Callan, who was an aspiring writer at the time, and he was a key grip. And we got to know each other really well, and we put together that story. And I'm walking on Venice Beach one day. God, it was probably the summer of 98, I think it was, not too sure. And I'm seeing this childhood friend of mine who's an actor, right? He's walking towards me, and I'm walking, and I look different. I was a lot bigger. My head was always shaved. And he looked at me, and he's like, "Who the hell is this guy? Do I know this guy?" And I go, "What's up, Cliffy?" And he goes, "Oh, Goose," and he hugged me. He's my childhood friend. We grew up together, and so we just started. "How you been, man? I'm glad you're home." And we just started chit chatting. And he was working on a movie called Capote at the time, and we just exchanged numbers again, and I just briefly had said, "Hey, I wrote something." He's like, "Really?" He goes, "I'd like to read it." And probably about a couple weeks later, he was in Canada filming, and I shot him the rough draft of Pawn. He liked it, and one thing led to another, and we started to work on it, But I went back to prison, man. Just doing my thing, living my life. I had to support my family, and I had to do what I had to do, and I got caught up. So when I left, I still kept in touch with Cliff. We always maintained a relationship, and I started to continue my journal experience, more advanced now, and I started to realize, I go, you know what? I go, I want to continue to do this when I come home. But in the interim, the Chino riots occurred. And so when the Chino riots occurred, like, that sparked Prison Ramen because of what had happened, what went down. It turned something inside of me where I said, I have to share this story. I have to share what happened. I have to share the experience I had, with my enemy, quote unquote. And it was amazing, bro, because not after the visit with Cliff, a few months later, I get deported, and I connect with him as soon as I get to TJ, and we start writing Prison Ramen. I get it together, and we get a publisher within a couple months after we agreed on the idea, and then we're published. And the ironic thing is, the book came out on November 3rd, 2015, and November 3rd is my birthday. So it was like a present. Just so, so ironic. Like, it was just, yeah, Goose. I remember the editor, Mary Ellen, telling me, yeah, Goose, it'll be out November 15th, November 3rd. And they didn't know my birthday. I'm like, oh, that's cool. What a cool birthday present. They're like, really? That's your birthday? So we made like this big old thing about it, which was awesome. So that's kind of a cool little omen, cool little,
Yeah.
And yeah, that's since Prison Ramen, I was inspired to actually put the Pawn out there as well and get it published, and I got it published right away after. And I'm working on Family Man now, something that I've already completed, but I'm just going through the last stages of polishing, which also is based on some of my life's events after coming home, after being deported, and living in the United States, supporting my family, doing what I did in Florida, whatnot, and so that's in the works. I'm hoping to get that out there soon, and some other cool projects with some cool cats. Joe and Andrés.
That's the hope.
Super
That's the hope.
excited, man. I'm super excited because I was telling my girl the other day, that I'm glad that I connected with you guys, man. And the way that it happened is just so genuine, bro. It wasn't like the past experience I've had, where it just was for different, reasons, I guess, But it's cool, you live and learn. And since I've been talking to Joe, like, there isn't a day that I get off with him talking stuff, working. And, my girl tells me, like, wow, you have a different attitude when you work with him than other people. And I go, babe, it's because this is like, this is something genuine you can't explain. It's like, that the guy's righteous, kind of like I told you, when you meet these people, they have word. And that's rare nowadays. Like, you won't find people that you don't have to shoot your lawyer at them. You don't have to go through all this drama. You feel comfortable opening up yourself, your privacy, because you respect and trust these people. And that's how I feel about both you guys, you and Joe.
Thanks so much, man.
To be quite honest too, there was these kids that sent me a comment one time on Amazon, and then they got at me to my Instagram and they said, your story about rotten pigs in prison ramen, it really helped us. We're going through some stuff with my family, and we all realized that we all had a rotten pig, so we went to get therapy and got this rotten pig out. So now we're all, and that was kind of like, wow, what a trip. I didn't realize that what that pastor said to me in Chino prison one time when I was in the hospital were to come to pass, and that was something that I still see today. I'll still get a comment from somebody on DM or in person. We're like, hey man, you know what? I read that book when I was down and out, and kind of helped me in this situation. I gave it to my nephew. I gifted it to my dad, or and that pastor said that he walked into the Chino hospital when I was suffering for some heart treatment while I was incarcerated. He's like, hey, can I pray for you? And I had two armed correctional officers in my room taking care of me. And he's like, can I come pray for you? And I kind of ignored him at first. I'm like, nah, and I said, yeah, why not? He came in there and put his hand on me. He started to pray. And then he kept looking at me. He's like, do I know you? Have I met you? And I was like, I've never met you before in my life, And he's like, God spoke to me and said, you're going to touch a lot of people, I kind of, dismissed him. And then as he left, I watched, what's his name? From that guy died. Farrah Fawcett was dying. Michael Jackson was dying. I started watching on the news. And Ed McMahon. And I saw Ed McMahon die, and I started tripping out. Like, man, just everything was just coming to me in a way where I couldn't grasp it. And so now, many years later, I think back of what that pastor had said, and I'm starting to understand what he meant by touching a lot of people. And it's every year, man. Around the holidays, because that's kind of a gift people give to that prison ramen book. I get comments from people, and it gets me going, bro. It inspires me because it helps me to, when I start stressing, like I call it, or hard timing it, I like knock it off, knock it off. You're doing good, you're blessed, you got a lot of things going for you, your family's good, everything's good. Stop worrying so much, stop, and it helps when I get these little letters from these cats or these parents or whoever, and it's like it's a constant motivational shot of dopamine, like everything, and it keeps me going, bro. I don't lose hope, and it's helped a lot.
I have one more question on my end, because there's so many aspects of your life that are just so interesting, and we could talk for hours. And hopeful, and I really do think that in a very near future, I'm actually going to go down there and I will get to ask these questions in person and get to know you better. But for now, and also it'll be awesome. I think it'll be awesome to do. What's the dream? What's nowadays? What is the dream? What do you see the future like, and what would you hope for?
Man, to be honest with you, I don't look that far anymore. Like I used to. I don't do that no more. I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. Tomorrow I might not wake up, Andres. This probably might be the last time you talk to me. The future's not for me to. I'd like to be certain places. I'd like to do this, But at the end of the day, it's never my plan, you know. I'm just accepting my situation, you know, appreciating everything that I have, and I'm allowing whatever to come and face it like I've been facing everything, you know. And the only thing that could come with that is what is, you know. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, and I'm excited. I'm happy. Like I'd rather not. I'd rather not know. I'd rather that just one day I start meeting this guy Joe, and Joe starts talking about doing projects. I'm like, wow, let's go for it. Let's jump on that way. And Andres comes in and say, hey, we're gonna do this. He goes, well, let's do it. You know, I'm like open. Like let's do this, man. You know, and I think that's where I'm at right now. I'd rather be in that vibration than, you know, paying interest in something I haven't even bought yet. Like, nah, come on. Take it easy, man. Let's take it one day at a time. Let's enjoy today, you know?
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
To ask you one more question for now. What does a Monday look like for you? What's that like?
The most recent or
just like a regular day? What does a regular day look like for you?
Okay, well, we'll talk about, let's say, I don't know, a few months ago, you know. You know, it would usually be going to the office. I like to call it the office, where we do pull-ups, do my little routine, you know, with fellas talk, see what's on the agenda, you know, see what's there to do, and take care of my situation with my girl, wherever she might want to do at the moment, you know, whether it's just the usual errands or you know, do the family thing, you know, mostly the family thing. And
what's the family thing?
Depends, you know. We usually hang out at her parents' house or sister's house, and we all kind of, you know, have like these little spreads or potlucks, however you want to call it, and we hang out, we sharpen each other, you know, iron sharpens iron, and help each other in all our tasks, you know. But usually in the morning with the guys, it's pretty much a huddle up. Okay, what's good, what's on the agenda, what, you know, what's there to do, what how can we help each other progress, you know, in all aspects, financial, health, whatever. How and we help each other, you know, and maybe some of the guys are going through a struggle. Hey, we'll talk with them, like, what's up? Oh, I'm having a hard time looking for a job or XYZ, and then we'll try to help them out, connect them, do some researching for them. Maybe he doesn't have a car, we'll give him a ride, you know, we'll help him out, or help him find a car, you know. And like I said, this little community, we help each other, you know, and we're all we got, you know, because it's not like in California where you can go get assistance, you could go have these programs for you. They don't have that here, you know. And
that's true.
And so that kind of, you know, if I could just share this one little quick dream that was put out a few years ago, was there's this little hotel slash apartment right at the edge of the border here in Playa de Tijuana, where they have you know, immigrants. It's like an immigrant home. And this one little vision came to me a long time ago when I was more in tune with Homeboy Industries to have a certain, I guess you want to call it halfway house, I don't know, apartment slash hotel for guys like us that are coming right out of the deportation bus with nothing, some of them with nothing, and they can have a place where they can get online and contact with their family, Skype with them, or get some type of assistance, maybe just a couple of days they're able to sleep and have someplace safe to chill and relax till they connect with whoever they need to, or go home, or, you know, or even help them find a home, you know, get them situated, because it's hard for some of the guys. If you don't have family, if you don't have a good support team, you're deported, man. You have no one but yourself. And what happens, a lot of the guys, they turn to, you know, what they know to make money. In most of the cases, that's not something admirable or legal. Let's be honest. And they get some caught up, and now they're in another, you know, hole, and it's just a non-turning door. It's just a revolving door. And if, let's say, they had a little bit of help, a little bit of support, they come home, they get deported, I should say, and they go to this place of refuge. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And there's, maybe some doctor could give them a quick checkup. Maybe they can go through let's find out, get you an ID, get you, this is the rights that you have, let's try to find you a job at a call center or something where you're going to get decent money so that you can at least survive. So you don't have that thought in your head of crossing because of desperation, That's something I always thought about doing. But at the time, we were trying to talk to Father Boyle, but the communication just went on deaf's ear, I guess, or I might not have been too popular enough for them to, invest in something like that. So I kind of just put it away. Like I just stopped thinking about it, But it's an idea,
And actually, how did you meet? Is it your girlfriend or your wife? How do you guys meet?
My fiance, we met here in Blyas through a mutual friend, as a matter of fact. Just, one of those, how do you say it? A surprise, like an unexpected moment.
Yeah.
It came over, I met her through a friend of mine, and we just hit it off, we clicked, and we've been together since, and she's been my rock, her name's Laura. She's been my rock, and we've been going through so much together that it's allowed me to understand more about this place because she's 100% from Mexico, and it helps for her to school me in a lot of stuff that I really still not grasping. So she's like my rock. She defends me in certain occasions. I could even talk about one occasion if you don't mind.
Please, please. By the way, we can have time. So yeah.
Yeah, the
Go
cop
ahead.
pulled us over, right? And I'm usually like, I don't say nothing to no cop, So if I have the change on me, I'll just give it to him so I can leave, because that's kind of how it goes down. But she's like, no, like, you have rights, and she starts talking to them in ways I wouldn't even. To be honest with you, I just don't want to waste my time trying to deal with talking to somebody that I know isn't here for any legal. He's trying to get his, But no, she saved me from a lot of misfortunes, man. And had it not been for her talking to them, I think they would have greased me. They would have got me for money or try to take my car. There's just, I don't mind it too much because there's a sense of freedom. Like, okay, so maybe I should have stopped for the stop sign. Just to give them a little bit of whatever I have in my pocket could alleviate a headache to get a ticket, whatnot. I know it's wrong, and I know a lot of people shouldn't be doing that, but I look at it different. I look at it like, what? I know that they don't pay them much either, so they're just trying to make theirs. And sometimes I might not stop for the stop sign, and I have it coming, so I'll just take it like, okay, I shouldn't have did it. There you go. But then there's times where I didn't do nothing, and I know they just want that. That's where she steps in and just says what she has to say, and I just stay quiet because I know that if I say something and he says something back to me, things can get messy. I want to avoid that. I'd rather have my attorney talk to them. And I call her my attorney because that's what she is.
That's awesome, man. The other question I had was, you mentioned Homeboy Industries, and actually just recently I was in Chinatown at the train station, and I saw it right there, the big building. What's your relationship with Homeboy Industries?
There's a portion of the proceeds that go to Homeboy Industries. Cliff takes care of that. He's been taking care of that for a minute. And Father Boyle, he's got a story in our book as well, and he's a very good friend of ours that's helped. He's in like an apoyo. He's I've known him since I was probably a kid when he used to go to the jails to do his services. That's where the first time I met him, and who knew many years later he'd be in my book. That's kind of like full circle, and it's pretty cool. I've lost track or in touch. I'm not in touch with him as I used to be before. Like I said, things changed, and I just decided to leave the things the way they are, and didn't try to make any more, I don't know, waves, so to speak. So I just let them be, That idea, though, would have been super nice if they would have got involved, because it would have been like a Homeboy Industries quote, / undocumented, deportees, or however you want to name it. And they would have been able to help them, But I guess, I don't know. It was just too much red tape between Mexico and the United States,
Yeah, it's funny. It's all these words because yeah, it's kind of like what do we call each other, and
Yeah,
that's also where local foreigner came, and
yeah.
that's actually what I call myself, to be honest. I
Oh,
was I was undocumented for my first 5 years in the United States. I
wow.
moved here in 2001, right after right before September 11th.
Oh,
So I'm an immigrant. I'm undocumented. I look Middle Eastern, so it was
yeah.
like all into. And I live in Huntington. I was the first place I lived was Huntington Beach, California, which is like notoriously racist surf city, USA. I've always felt that way, like a local foreigner, But this is home, so I'm local, So that's where that word came from. And now you're talking about there's asylum seekers, there's deportees.
Yeah.
Also it's almost like also I think I'm gonna coin this term as like what would I call it? Um, uh, involuntary expats. Like
Oh,
so yeah,
that's a good way of
because
putting it.
that's what it feels like.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what I want to ask about, if you don't mind me about, because I think that's awesome. First of all, that some of the proceeds from Prison Ramen would go to helping this cause. What was the proceeds from Prison Ramen? Were you able to? Did those take care of you for a while? Like, how are the financial aspect? If you don't mind me asking, how's that been, and how did it get with Prince of Ramen? Is it like kind of up and down? And how are you doing now? If you wouldn't mind elaborating on that.
Yeah, prison ramen is it's I guess the best way to put it, it's not exactly what people might think it is at the beginning, because we did take an advance, and then when you take an advance, first you have to wait till the advance is paid off, and then once the advance is paid off, then you start um, getting royalties. And thank God it took us what, about maybe 2 or 3 years to pay it off, and then we started getting royalties. So yeah, we get royalties twice a year, and it's helped. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a blessing, and like I said, every year on the holidays, people purchase the book,
Mhm.
so it becomes like a novelty every end of the year. So yeah, it's helped out. I'm hoping that it could continue to in other aspects, like maybe there was talk about doing Prison Ramen 2, women's version.
Oh,
I was
nice.
gonna do it with Cliff and other guests, like Michelle, maybe Michelle Rodriguez, maybe Lil
Mhm.
Kim, people that we had in mind to bring to the table that have been to jail, and have a story. And we wanted to do the women's version, because
Mhm.
they go to prison too, they eat ramen too, and they have stories too that are genuine,
Yeah.
and they need to be told.
Yeah, and by the way, that alone, do you have the rights to Prison Ramen? Is that like if you
Yeah,
want to do something?
Cliff and I do. We co.
Because that it would also be like a kick-ass
Yeah.
podcast TV show, like just the interviews,
Yeah,
and
bro. All that stuff came to the table, but
yeah,
we haven't we haven't come to an agreement on
I
much of
see.
anything in regards because of other reasons, that are out of my control. So,
Yeah.
maybe one day somebody will step up and put their money where their mouth is, as they say, and get something going and get it done.
Mhm.
And I think it could be an amazing part two, or podcast, TV show,
Yeah,
or the
totally.
case. It's
Yeah.
just like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I have no control of.
My dream at least will be that this in some way also helps you achieve your goals as well, so get your name out there, and unfortunately, make you better known. So
Yeah, I mean, look, I know it's kind of it's kind of ironic, in order for I need to be.
Mhm.
I'm kind of private too, bro. Like
Yeah.
I don't use social media as much. I have it, like I said, I'm not savvy with it. I'm not always on there trying to put. I
Mhm.
just feel kind of like I don't know. I just
Yeah.
this is a cool little formula right here.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man.